Should be a good one. We look forward to it. The graduate of Central Missouri was named president of Fairgrounds Racecourse and Slots and senior vice president of Churchill Downs Incorporated on April 20th of 2010. Prior to joining Fairgrounds, he spent 4 years at Harrah's in New Orleans. Fairgrounds will open its historic 145th season this coming Saturday with the Twilight Racing Card at 3 p.m. Please give a warm Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation Quarterback Club welcome to Tim Bryant of Fairgrounds Racecourse. Tim.
As Ken mentioned, we are kicking off our 145th meet. So obviously the fairgrounds has been around for a while. The track itself has been around for over 150 years, but this is our formal 145th meet. We do have a 3 o'clock post time this Saturday. It's considered twilight. We like to do that over the period of the meet about 4 or 5 times. We've got 5 twilight or starlight race meets, so we have a later post time for people to come out. This is going to be held on a Saturday. We like to do that to attract guests that normally don't come out to the racetrack and get them exposed to horse racing. It's a great experience. I might have a little bias in it, but I've always enjoyed going to have a day at the races, and we hope to get as many people out there this year as possible. We've had a great couple of meets the past 2 years. We've seen year-over-year growth 2 years in a row, which is not necessarily common throughout the thoroughbred industry. Other key dates outside of November 19th, I did leave pamphlets that I encourage you to take that will give you a recap of the meet. It has the calendar on one side, the Twilight, Starlight events, and then the stake schedule, which has some key dates that I'll point out. Louisiana Champions Day is December 10th, Santa Super Saturday is December 17th, Road to the Derby Kickoff or the La Comp Stakes will be January 21st. Louisiana Derby Preview Day, which is the Risen Star Stakes, and we got Running Lamarck here on February 25th, and then Louisiana Derby Day on April 1st, and that's not a joke. So we will continue to, as I said, we have some promotional things to try and get people out. I'd like to spend some time. We have about 1,400 horses on the backside now. That will balloon up to 1,829. We allot 1,829 stalls. When it's all said and done. And we also have a 98 stall ship-in barn for horses that come. We have several horses that come over from the Churchill Downs Training Center in Lafayette, and then some other tracks as well. But when you think about it, we run 80 days, and our goal is to run at least 10 races. You got 800 races. You want a 10-horse field if all possible. So we're looking for 8,000 horses. So we need every stall that we can get. So one thing I want to give a lot of credit to Jason Boulay and Scott Jones. Jason's our senior director of racing, and Scott Jones is our assistant racing secretary. They did a good job of recruiting fresh blood. What we do every year is we take a look at the stalls per start for each trainer, and believe it or not, you know, some trainers don't run as often as we would like, and the main reason we do that is because it's imperative for us to have full field sizes. The more horses you have, the more appealing that is to the average bettor, the handicappers out there, and we're trying to drive as much handle as possible. So they did a good job of recruiting some people from the Northeast, actually. Jeff Duncan and I were talking earlier about the fact that we've got over a dozen new trainers, and they include Tom Morley, Tom Proctor, Jeremiah Englehart, Mark Case, and Brendan Walsh, just to name a few. Those are well-established trainers, and we have the usual suspects coming back. From a local contingent, we have Tom Amos, Al Stahl, Dallas Stewart, Louis Russell, and then you have many of the top trainers in the country, Steve Asmussen, Brett Calhoun, Steve Margolis, Michael Stidham, who's coming back, and he was the trainer of the year at the fairgrounds last year. Then you start to look at the jockey colony. The jockey colony is one of the best in the country too. Florent Giroux is coming back. He was the rider of the year last year for the fairgrounds. You got the Hernandez brothers coming back, Robbie Alvarado, Richard Aramia, James Graham, Sean Bridgman, Miguel Mena. So a lot of great athletes that come here, and obviously to mention the trainers that I did, we're also obviously going to have quality horses come in. So we're always looking to that road to the Louisiana Derby, which is a strong prep race for the Kentucky Derby. It gives the most, it's one of the races that gives the most points to earn a spot in the Kentucky Derby. As you know, we had 2 that landed there in Tom and Gail Benson stables last year. So we're hoping to have the same success this year. Basically, if you run first or second Louisiana Derby, the way the point systems are given, you are going to earn yourself a spot in the Kentucky Derby. With that said, I wanted to give a shout out to the team. Jason Boulay, Scott Jones have done an incredible job, not only in the recruiting side of things, but the racetrack itself. Pedro Zavala is our track superintendent. He's done a phenomenal job. We're here in the main track's in great shape, as we have on a very regular basis, and the turf track looks phenomenal. We've had a very solid 2 meets with our turf track, and Pedro takes a lot of pride, and the entire team does. Mario Torres, who's our stall superintendent, has worked hard. If you go back, if you have the opportunity to go back on our backside, and I think Ronnie can attest to this, and Jeff Duncan can attest to this, when you go to our backside, it's one of the cleanest backsides in the country. You go to any other racetrack, and there's not many that are as well kept as our backside. So a lot of credit goes to that team. And Gabe Martin, our chief facilities engineer, when you come to the facility, I'd be surprised if you didn't see the improvements that have been made, how nice the facility looks. We're getting ready for a great meet. We want to see another year, so we have year over year over year over year growth in our thoroughbred race meet. So with that said, I hope you come and enjoy. It really is a great day. And I know that our normal post time is 1:25, so that's why once a month we like to have post times, whether it be on a Saturday at 3 o'clock or on a Friday at 5 o'clock, to get people exposed that normally don't have the opportunity to come out to the races on a normal day at 1:25 p.m. So look forward to seeing everyone out there, and I can answer any questions if anyone has any.
I got one back here. How much is that the video poker and the slot machine revenue help manage y'all's growth? Is that really?
Oh yeah, well we'll get into the business model, if you will, and thank you for bringing that up. Obviously, we are able to remain competitive when it comes to purse money, because it does get subsidized. The pari-mutuel side gets subsidized through the revenue generated in slots and the revenue generated in video poker. And it's essentially, I'm going to round this up because it gets really kind of, the details get kind of murky, but at the end of the day, 20% of the revenue that we make in video poker goes towards purses on the pari-mutuel side, and about 18% of the slot goes to purses or to the HBPA or Racing Commission to assist in the pari-mutuel business. So it's a must to stay competitive with the likes of like an Oaklawn that has a monopoly in the state. They're the only racetrack in the state of Arkansas, and they're the only casino within a 200-mile radius. They've got a monopoly there. For us to compete and keep our purses appealing enough for trainers and owners to want to come to the fairgrounds, it's essential that we have that. The smoking ban it hurt us. I mean, I'm not going to sit up here and lie, it hurt us, but we were able to strategically grab some of the business that left Orleans Parish and our outlying video poker OTB. The video poker and OTBs were able to capture some of that revenue, so our purses remained constant and the same. So I give credit to my team to execute the strategy that they did to capture some of the revenue lost from Orleans Parish in Jefferson Parish and St. Bernard Parish from video poker.
Hey Tim, I got one question. We just had the Breeders' Cup. Is it a pipe dream? Could we ever get it in New Orleans?
You know what? When I first joined, James Carville and Jay and I sat down and we talked about it. And you know, the Churchill Downs obviously wants to hold the Breeders' Cup, but the facility that's built for it, it's Churchill Downs Racetrack. I think it would be a stretch, and then you know, you take a look at the facility and us, and have found out in detail where we're at from an elevation standpoint. We're at or below sea level at the fairgrounds, and you look at most of those properties that have it. Churchill Downs has a tunnel that you can access the infield, and we just don't have that. And there's a lot of difficulties that we'd have to navigate through.
So that's a no.
Yeah, I got
that. Yeah, I'm trying not to say no,
I
but
got deep into it,
I want to say 30,000 seats on the infield to just be competitive, and the cost.
Yeah, I think Santa Anita, they had
really tried,
75,000
but
show
the
up.
price intended.
But Churchill Downs Racetrack is, and you're very familiar with Churchill Downs Racetrack and the facility they have there. It's built for a large-scale event, and they can bring in 100,000 people for the Breeders' Cup. And I know that they tried it at Keeneland, and I think it was a success. But you look at the footprint of Churchill Downs Racetrack versus some of the other tracks, and I think it's a great venue to have it.
I got one question, and everybody in my generation will tell you how great the old fairgrounds was, because it was really great. Have y'all given any thought to being able to open that glass on a nice day? It drives me crazy. It's a beautiful day outside in New Orleans, and I'm sitting in an air conditioner. Does anybody like toss that out to see if it's possible when you get a 70-degree, you know, one of
I can navigate through that question without saying no, but the likelihood of that would be tough. Just the engineering side of that to reestablish where the glass is and be able to crank it open would be very, it'd be very expensive. But I hear what you're saying. It'd be great to open that up. You go to places like Saratoga in New York, they don't have, it's outside. You're open to the elements. And actually it was extremely warm this summer in Saratoga, but still a lot of nostalgia there.
Thank you for your honesty.
Do you have any exotics during this meet?
We will be having, we won't have the exotics, we will have the wiener dog races, and I know like some of the purists in horse racing are probably like, what in the world are you doing? But when you go to the racetrack and you see the thousands of people that show up to these events, that's why we do it. It ends up exposing people that normally wouldn't come to the racetrack, and it exposes them to horse racing. We do the exotics and the quarter horse. It's too much of a stretch in a thoroughbred because we want the public to view us as a very legitimate thoroughbred track and an A level. When quarter horse racing just quite isn't as appealing in this area of the state than it is maybe out west. So we do like to have the exotics, and I think you've been to some. It literally brings thousands of people. And the wiener dog races does the same, and we can coordinate that and do it without impacting post times. Unlike when we race camels and ostriches, you have 45, 50 minutes to post. That's too long of a stretch for a thoroughbred meet.
The tunnel, I know coming here through the Harvey Tunnel, it's not open, we do have a tunnel. So what I'm saying is, Churchill Downs can well afford to build a tunnel. They make a lot of money, they trade it, it's New York money, that's Wall Street. I'm from Mealy Street. And I want to tell you, I really think if you did that, we could have a shot at it. Because Keeneland is not as big. It's just the same footprint, I think, as a fairground.
The Ronnie Lamarck Tunnel, you can sponsor it.
Yeah, there's a ton of things that we'd have to navigate through on that, and I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying it'd be extremely expensive to build a tunnel now, and I don't know what it costs to build the Harvey Tunnel, but I'm sure it was very expensive, and the maintenance on that has to be extremely expensive too. So I hear what you're saying, Ronnie. I can't speak for Churchill Downs Incorporated on whether they're willing to do that or not, but I would say that the chances of that are probably unlikely. As we've had the conversations before, they have a physical plant in Louisville, Kentucky that can accommodate very well the Breeders' Cup.
It makes sense. But if you called El Chapo, he could help you.
That's I'll keep that in mind. All right, thanks everyone. I hope to see you out at our 145th.